It feels like a cruel joke. Years before I met my husband I was in such a toxic, abusive relationship that it almost ended my life. I spent years in therapy, bettering myself, figuring out why I accepted the type of love. I stayed single for years, and once I started dating, I made sure to keep an eye out on all red flags. Heck, I even took things slowly when there was nothing but green flags. Thanks to my ex I was familiar with love bombing. I met my husband at work event, and things just fell into place. I opened up and explained my past trauma, and let him know that if we were going to date that it would require a slow pace and patience. I won't say that he was perfect, but he was always kind, compassionate, and cared. We dated for about 5 years, engaged for 1 and married for a little over 3 years now. We recently bought our second home together. We both got promotions at work, so we sat down and talked about kids. He wanted a big family, and I only wanted 1 or 2. We agreed on 2, and well started trying. It didn't take long and here I am 6 months pregnant, still working, have swollen ankles and a back that won't stop aching. Other than that I've been very happy and have what I thought was a supportive husband. 3 weeks ago, I found out that he was having an emotional affair, and honestly probably a physical one. When confronted with the evidence he admitted to not being attracted to me while pregnant. I'm wrecked. I haven't gained unnecessary weight, I still take care of myself, even with the morning sickness that hasn't gone away. He's not sorry about it, but you told me that I was being overdramatic when I cried. He is staying with his family until he can find a home to rent. He doesn't want to get a divorce. He's saying after the pregnancy is over we can go to therapy and fix things. I don't want to. I can't physically look this man in the eye anymore without feeling disgust. I have a text from him saying that he's my only option, because no man wants to date a single mom. I'll be talking to a lawyer and figuring out how to divorce him. I just wanted to vent into the void today. For now I'm going to DoorDash some nuggets and a Frosty from Wendy's and be okay if I gain 5 pounds from it. Thanks for listening. Well reading I suppose. Update 1. I was told I'm not allowed to change the locks due to it being his home as well, and he came over last night knowing there wasn't crap I could do to prevent it. Thankfully he only grabbed some personal belongings, threatened to take the dogs, he did not, and let me know he emptied our shared account. Part of me rolled my eyes and figured he wasn't dumb enough to do that, and the other part made me make a mental note to check it once he left. Sure enough our account has maybe $5 in it. He did a transfer which I'll be calling the bank about and speaking to an attorney this afternoon. Thankfully my dad taught me you don't fully mix finances, so my savings wasn't capable of being touched, and while it's not a lot it's enough to pay for the fees over the next few weeks. I don't have any family left, so I think he's doing a power play to make me feel like I'm alone and need him, when in all reality it's lit a fire under my ass that I don't want or need such a garbage person in my life. Update 2. As mentioned in an edited post, I was not allowed to change the locks on our house due to both of our names being on it. I never feared for my safety, it was more so an annoyance. He showed up to grab some personal belongings and I thought that would be the most that would happen. It was like he was trying to get a reaction from me. He told me he transferred funds and emptied out the account. I didn't believe him until I saw it myself. That was both of our money, so that's being dealt with currently. He showed up the day before yesterday completely. Why drunk, begging to talk, increasing in anger when I would just ignore him and walk away. It kept increasing, so I went to grab my bag and walk down the road to a neighbor's home so I wasn't alone. He grabbed my arm to stop me, and when I yanked it away, he slapped me, almost a backhanded open slap. The cops were called. I didn't have a mark on my face, so it was my word versus his. They escorted him off the property and I'm only now assuming he's back with his parents now. He did throw a fit about the dogs and does have proof of ownership, so I'm guessing he'll be able to take them. Went to leave to go for a drive to clear my head after everything and realized 3 of my 4 tires were flat. I know it was him but I don't have proof. Insurance won't cover it, so going to a tire shop on Friday morning. Just another drop in the bucket. As for the attorney, I've had my consult and I'm waiting for my check to come in for my actual appointment and getting the ball moving on this. There's not any family left, and a few close friends are kept in the loop, but I don't want to burden them or treat them like unpaid therapists, so I think that's why I came back to Reddit. Something therapeutic about just typing it all out into the void. The baby/pregnancy is okay. I've actually lost weight, and the doctor has told me to avoid stressful situations and to take things easy. I'll be calling to see if I can change the locks on the home now, and if not I'm going to start looking for places. Update 3. He broke in late last night. I was able to contact the police before I confronted him, but due to location I knew it would be a bit. I tried walking by him to leave the house, but every time I would he'd shove me, once hard enough to make me stumble and fall backwards. The eerie part is he never once yelled through things. One of the items hit me, causing an emergency room visit requiring stitches. Said the most vile things. He hated me, I should kill myself, how useless I was, etc., yet never once raised his voice. I'm not saying that in a good way. I wish he would have yelled. It was a fight or flight instinct and I found out mine was to freeze. I hate that for myself. He was arrested and his mother already bailed him out. Him staying at a hotel thanks to a work advance and looking into apartments. I won't be stepping a foot into that home we shared until my best friend is here, and even then it will be with police being with us. Nobody can figure out what made him change almost overnight. Only thing I'm guessing is a psychotic break, but I'm not a therapist or doctor. Besides some ugly bruises and some stitches, myself and the baby are fine. My lawyer feels like this is enough to get a protection order for myself and will include the pregnancy/baby. Next time I see him will be at court. Sorry I'm rambling and maybe this doesn't make any sense. For now I'm safe, can sleep good for the first time in weeks. I have the dogs. Nobody is aware of where I am besides one close person, and the police. Final update: I changed my locks, figured if he'd get the law involved I'd use pregnancy brain and being forgetful to give him a spare set. Update 4. Police met me at my home to grab some personal belongings and pretty much anything and everything else I could grab. Thanks to the user who recommended me calling the non-emergency number, it was smooth sailing. He wasn't home. I didn't have the fear of him showing up and both officers were very kind. What I walked into on the other hand was not very fun. This man looked like he went on a bender. Bleach on clothes, food everywhere, personal belongings just destroyed, especially the nursery. I was able to salvage a lot of the bigger items and packed what I could. They're now in storage until I move into my place. Took pictures, and as aggravating as it was, especially with the 1 step forward 2 steps back, I'm hopeful that there'll just be another thing used against him to prevent custody. As far as him, he has no way of contacting their then attorney or email, and it's been quiet on both ends. His parents have not reached out. I don't even know what I'd say to them if they tried, so no loss there. His girlfriend, yes girlfriend, as I found out, has been trying to contact me via friends to let me know she's pregnant. I'm unsure if that's true or not, but that in the very least confirms the affair and how well he kept things hidden. I do want to clear the air. I made a post asking for helpful information on resources that could potentially help, and someone made a comment saying I was in it for a long con, and that's just untrue. I have not and will not accept any personal items/donations other than advice and maybe an internet hug. Editor's note: Oop, deleted the post she is referencing. See comment below. While I wish my story was made up, it is not. Maybe it's a venting board, maybe it's just connecting with people that have been in the same situation, but it helps keep me sane. Anyway, I'll leave it at, thank you all for listening and checking up on me. I'm safe, I'm good. Pregnancy is the only thing kicking my ass, and I'll make sure to make a post in a few months letting y'all know she's here and that we made it. Bye for now. Oh, trust me, I'm having bad days with it, especially emotionally. I'm sure the hormones aren't helping. I've debated if I turned a blind eye and if there really weren't any red flags. I've had moments where I've missed him because it's not just a switch. We loved each other, or at least I loved him. This is a person I planned a future and had a past with. It's really just an emotional roller coaster, and that's okay. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to handle all of this, but I'm doing my best. I'm not asking for money, and I'm sorry if it came across that way. I can provide proof and anything else. I've had multiple people reach out and ask if they could help, and I've always turned it down. The only thing I'm asking is for someone to point me in the way of an organization that I may not know of. If that's coming across as that way, though, I can and will delete my post. It wasn't my intention. Update 5. I've read every single message and the majority of the comments. Thank you for sharing your experiences, your advice, your love. More than a few have offered baby items, groceries and gift cards. I cannot in good will accept any of those, but if you have items laying around, please consider donating them to a charity that helps homeless parents. One thing that stuck out is someone asked how I could feel sorry for him. I guess I'm an empathic person, to the point where it could be a flaw. I wish if he was so unhappy he would have just told me. We could have fixed it before it became violent, and if it wasn't fixable we could have both been amazing parents. His girlfriend that reached out wrote an email in which was forwarded to me. She's saying she's pregnant, and for her sake I hope she's not. She's accusing me of ruining a good man's reputation. She called the injuries self-inflicted and how they want a paternity test. My personal favorite was if my baby is actually his, she hopes her baby can grow up with her and have a sister. Little does she know I will go to hell and back to make sure that man does not know anything about my daughter. As for him, I've seen him once while leaving the grocery store. Outside me was calm, cool, collected, acted like he was a stranger I wouldn't give a second look at. On the inside I said oh shit about 500 times and cried in the car. Money situation is fixed, work bonus and promotion. I've bought a new and better living room suite and having a painting party at the end of the month. You're all invited. BTW. Still good, still safe, slowly learning to love my new normal. If you're in a similar situation or in an abusive relationship, man or woman, reach out. You're not alone. You don't need to be brave, I'm certainly not. You just need that I can't do this anymore to light that fire. Update 6. Hi, it's been a while since I've posted. Last time I posted I had swollen ankles, waddled, thought every little cramp was a contraction and felt like life was falling apart. I want to thank everyone who reached out even months after the fact just to check in on a stranger. My daughter is here. For privacy I'm going to leave out her dob, but she was 6 pounds 2 ounces and the most beautiful head of hair I've seen. She's now got the hairstyle of Danny DeVito. My original posts are still up in case anyone is looking at this with puzzlement. But to say things have been rough would be an understatement. He showed up to the hospital. Thankfully everyone was aware and hospital staff handled it properly and perfectly, and I was able to focus on labor and delivery. Unfortunately the stress of that alone took an already hectic moment in time and amped it up, but things could have been so much worse and I'm highly thankful they were not. Right now I've got about 10 different CPS calls. They've came to my house on 4 occasions. His family and him have filed for an emergency custody hearing, and due to leaving the state with my daughter that did give him a foot in the door. It seems the protective order isn't really helping in that matter. I am still on maternity leave, so thankfully my focus has fully been on my daughter, and collecting all the evidence to make sure he doesn't get any custody other than possibly supervised visits for an hour. My main concern is if he doesn't get any custody that his parents may do the grandparent route. I wish it was an update to say I'm kicking motherhood's ass and taking names, but most of the time I feel like a burnt out blob. I am in therapy and the doctors are keeping an eye on postpartum depression, yet my doctor thinks a giant hemorrhoid, X, is the cause instead. Don't have an update on the girlfriend of his, have kept the dogs. I think they love the little one just as much as I do. Am excited and anxious to see where the next chapter of Life E will take me. Now on to second story. Discovered my boyfriend had purposely given me food I'm allergic to at his sister's wedding, then blamed me for ruining the event. IF 29 met my boyfriend Michael M 35 at a show I performed in. I am a theater person as a hobby, and he complimented my performance and bought me a drink. We have been together now for a little over a year. His sister got married last week and I was initially pleased to ask to be a bridesmaid but also a bit surprised as she barely knows me, but I thought this was an attempt to have an excuse to also get to know each other better. Michael and I got into an argument the week before because he said that he wanted to entertain the thought of spicing up our sex life and having a threesome. He said since I was bi, why not? I didn't like the idea too much and said so, and it devolved into a petty cold war and he started to ignore my messages after he left my place. He didn't reply to me at all until the day before the wedding asking what time he needed to pick me up since we can't go straight otherwise people will gossip about us. He barely said anything to me the whole time we traveled to the venue. The wedding was fine, but at the reception he got me a plate and leaned in to kiss me, but I shied away and he got up to mingle. I started feeling ill not too long after a 911 WAD called. I realized I was having an allergic reaction but had my pen but still had to be carted off by the ambulance, and that's when someone AO was looking for Michael said that he had left with some of the other groomsmen to a bar nearby. I called 6 times and texted that it was an emergency as I was getting checked put by the paramedics, and again when they strongly suggested I go to the hospital, but he never replied. I was released high the hospital and called him to ask him to pick me up, but he didn't pick up, so I woke up my best friend and she took me home and stayed with me overnight to make sure I was okay. The next morning Michael called me but I was still asleep, so he left me a lengthy voicemail yelling at me that I ruined his sister's wedding and that I always have to make things about me. He came over to further berate me and told me he should just break up with me at this point as I am dramatic and this is all too much, so I pointed out that he had gotten my plate, knew full well that I have a legit allergy to coconut, and that his sister had told me afterwards that he knew that the cake he gave me was the coconut cream cake as all the food had signs saying what it was and what the ingredients were, as I am not the only person with allergies that attended. He left telling me that he can't talk to me when I am this way. I was honestly exhausted, so I didn't bother going after him. But his father called me to ask how I was doing, and after I answered he then told me how I am hurting Michael's heart by blaming him, and Michael has been inconsolable since we fought. I texted Michael to ask if we could talk, but the conversation went back around somehow to the threesome and how I don't respect him even in intimate settings or want to hear him out regarding his needs and make things about me. I am so confused because to me this feels manipulative, but I respect his father so much. I go to their church and he is a pastor there, so to have him tell me I am in the wrong through me. Ada? Edit. A lot of comments are suggesting that this was intentional, and I have actually never considered he gave me something I am allergic on purpose, and certainly not to use against me to leverage in our argument. But I think I may have to come clean and talk to his parents. I know them well, so hopefully it won't go too badly. Small update. Michael texted me this morning to apologize. He said the wedding was stressing him out and he had a lot on his mind, so he accidentally handed me the plate he meant for himself, not the one for me. He said he didn't know I was in the hospital and feels bad he wasn't here for me, but he left the reception with some of the groomsmen to blow of much needed steam. I don't know how I feel about it all, so I just replied okay. He is now asking to come over and talk this out in person. Second edit. For any and all of you calling me stupid or implying I am a child and why am I still with this guy etc., just know, you remind me a lot of him and how he used to put me down and bully me, and it's a real wonder of mine if you treat people in your life like he did me. I suspect you do. Glad to be rid of him and indifferent about you. Update 1. Well, many of you were right, I should not have met him in person, but I did. He took me out to lunch insisting he pay for it all, and it was incredibly over the top. He had flowers and a written letter of apology, but as some of you messaged me, his apologies dodged the point by way of if I hurt you or that you're feeling X or Y feeling etc. He quoted some scriptures and said he has repented as his carelessness caused me harm. I wasn't much moved by any of it until he said how much his family loves me and how much our church roots for us as a couple, and I kinda sat back and realized that one flimsy reason I was even entertaining forgiving him and staying was because of the pressure I dealt with as the GF of a pastor's son. It occurred to me that there were so many times I let things slide because he is the heir apparent, so he had the power in the social aspect of our community. Sorry, I know I am rambling, but I'm emotional and tipsy. I remembering just staring at him and saying it was incredibly alarming that by now he can't be aware of my oingle allergy, and that he didn't bother to tell his own GF he was stepping out with the guys, or even that he was stepping out of his own sister's wedding at all. He then said it was really actually kind of stupid of me to eat a cake that had coconut, and implied I am an idiot for not realizing what I had was coconut. I realized then he would never accept that he was in the wrong, and thus there was no point. I stood up and smiled and said, you know what, don't worry about it. Thanks for dinner. Good night. To which he replied that if I wasn't going to grow up and accept his apology, I am a waste of his time. He uses that a lot whenever we disagree and it usually hurts me deeply, but this time it was like a Rolodex of memories flooded my brain and I really suspect he's been deliberately making me sick whenever we disagree to teach me a lesson. I said I was done and he needn't waste his time with me from this point on and left. I then sent screenshots to his father explaining the situation as best I can without blaming Michael for prior illnesses without proof, and I got a text about 20 minutes ago from his father. His father is incredibly disappointed in my immaturity and hurt that I wouldn't even give it until Sunday at church where we can pray together, talk it out and heal. I felt this way for a while, but I was able to say at this time that using religion as a took of guilt is low, and I am no longer concerned with his version of God, as that version is a judgmental, cruel, and heartless jerk, while the one I always thought of was loving, compassionate, and kind, and I am done. I was told by him and by further emails rolling in that I am no longer welcome at my church until I reconcile with my true husband and learn compassion and respect for my leaders. So I guess that's it. I will enjoy sleeping in tomorrow and eating coconut-free food, while lazing about my home rather than going to 3 separate church services starting at 8 a.m. and then figure it all out from there. I don't know how to sign off, but I do watch a concerning amount of Charlotte Dobra videos, and she usually ends things with practical shit like do your laundry or something, so I will just say, live for yourself, feed your soul, and know you are enough. I certainly am going to put in the work to get there, and I hope we all make it to the other side contented, and filled with love and joy. And by the way, F you Michael. I know you are reading this. I know you know it's me. And I hope your socks are always just a little soggy. I forgot to add to my post, but I didn't want to bring the threesome requests into it. Well, I sent his daddy screenshots of some texts. If you'd like some drama, here are the top 2. 1. It was a night I sent him home after he tried and failed to pressure into sex. He sent me that I was missing out and should be grateful since your body makes me sick, but my love for you is stronger. Would it kill you to be grateful enough to just do a HJ? And 2. On his birthday, I had just been in the hospital after passing out from exhaustion and dehydration and went straight to his party. I stayed at his until everyone left, and I left soon after helping clean all but the kitchen, and he sent you could have cleaned the kitchen. Then or stayed over, for sex. Then you're a waste of time if I don't even get birthday sex. Thanks a lot. And after both B suggested adding a third. His dad hasn't responded. Update 2. I found a church in my city a bit more laid back, like we can go to the pub after and have a laugh laid back. I did like it and made amazing friends I am still touch with, but the going to church idea came from my therapist, and it was to see if I do identify with the church or the ideals of it, and I don't. So now I am back to being the heathen I am. Lol, my ex quickly moved on and he had a new GF within a month of us breaking us. Bless that woman, I thought, because isn't she in for a ride? Oddly enough, she reached out to me on my Facebook and I was curious and opened it. She started with who she is, how long she and ex have been dating and how long they knew each other, childhood friends, so basically forever. She then said that she feels convicted by the Holy Ghost to seek a resolution between me and ex, and she is worried I may be his true wife. And if I cannot forgive, then I am proving I am not, and to let her know as she cannot marry him until I make this clear. I shit you not. Seeing the screenshots, the chat with my new church buddies, my friend sent vomiting emojis and that this is a cult and not a faith. I concluded they were right and replied with, yeah, marry him if that's what you want. And nothing more. I am getting messages from members of the church, but I don't much care. I've loved my life since leaving. I didn't know life could be so enjoyed really, and it makes me wonder how much damage the church had on me, but for now, just for fun, I'm going to an appointment with a friend of a friend's apprentice on tarot readings. Lol, no, that's true. I was asked. No offense to anyone who believes in it, it's just not normally my thing, so I am curious and interested. Maybe it will be good. I will, you know. Update 3. This is really hard to explain. So after my last post, he stayed away for all of a hot second. He kept dropping off gifts and food, fucking food, of all things, at my door. I've ignored them and thrown them out at the end of each week like all trash. He then waited out front for me, so when I came out to take the trash out, he was sitting right there. I didn't even see him. I was tired and just trying to get chores done. He blocked me from my door and went on a speech about how I'm his true wife and that he cannot marry his GF without my permission. I can't keep track of the mental and theological gymnastics he took, but he basically asked me for a threesome with his current GF to see if we can work out who his true wife is. I bluffed and said that my necklace has a panic button on it and the cops are alerted of him being there and to go. He sort of stared at me, but it was blank, like he wasn't even human. He went on to say stuff about thinking about me every night before bed and more. I started to gauge just how fast I am compared to him and how quick I would need to run to even wake a neighbor, which one of them would be the quicker to responsive, and on and on. I just kept saying no and that the cops would be there and thank the universe for a random siren. I don't know if that's what convinced him, but he did leave and he was sort of chuckling and said that I've always been so playful and called my behavior an act. It took me less than 30 minutes to pack a bag and head to a friend's. I sat in her tub for what felt like a day. It wasn't. When I finally got out, she and I sat down and started making a plan to start moving my things out bit by bit until it's just down to the furniture. I don't give a flying fuck about the furniture. So we implemented the plan. She would drop in, her dad would, her mom would, I would with her brother, and slowly over this time we took everything I really cared to keep from my home. I'm safe and away from there and just ready to wash my hands of the place. He has texted me a few times assuring me of this plan to pick his wife. So I finally cracked and sent his messages to his parents last week. It's been silent since then until this past Wednesday. There's a bar I like where they have wine Wednesdays and I went to just relax until I felt a tap on my shoulder. He's there with what looks like a group, and he starts smiling and says we need to talk. I loudly tell him to leave me alone, but he just drops to his knees and asks me to marry him. Some people start to clap. A regular who knows me is now at my back leaning in to ask if I'm okay. I jerk back and tell him to leave me alone. The regular offered to pay my tab so I can leave and he walked me to my car. Now it's been this game of getting footage, dealing with the police. So far, I'm told, this isn't evidence of harassment but a domestic dispute, so I don't know what to do about that. I know that I am done with where I live. But moving now feels like the hardest task in the world. I know I have to. I can't stay here. But now I'm mourning it all. It all feels too big.